Welcome to the channel, everyone. I'm Skratch. This video is brought to you by Warcraft Rumble, so I just want to say a big thank you to them for sponsoring today's video. And if you guys want to download the game, you can do so by clicking the link in the description down below or in the pinned comment. Today, guys, I want to talk about the top 5 best spells in Warcraft Rumble. Now, there are a lot of spells in the game. Not all of them are actually effective. Not all of them are useful. In today's video, I'm not going to focus on PvP or on PvE, just on an overall general use for all of these 5 spells that I want to put in my top 5. And unfortunately, one of them is not unlocked just yet for me. But starting with the very first spell, guys, I do think that this overall is probably the best spell in the entire game. The Blizzard spell, guys, it costs you 4 gold to use, and basically it will generate a massive ice storm that will periodically deal damage versus the enemies. Very good to deal damage versus big waves of troops, guys. Now, when we are talking about the talents, Cold Snap, in my opinion, is the best option for this one because it will freeze enemy troops in place, ensuring that they won't get to move out of the storm. And basically, they will get damaged for a bit more. Now, you're not going to be able to kill tanks with this spell, of course, because it is just not intended for that. But it gives you a lot of control over massive waves of enemies. We do have a couple of different talents as well, like the Ice Crown summons an additional blizzard at your base. Can be nice in some cases, I guess, if you are basically under attack and you're trying to cover ground from 2 different areas. You have the Brittle Ice. Enemies within take 30% additional damage from physical sources. Not necessarily the best thing, so I do prefer the cold snap. Being at 4 gold cost is actually a pretty decent cost. It does deal elemental damage, which is actually pretty nice as well. And of course, you have a 5 seconds duration, 6 radius. Pretty good DPS, to be honest. 613 per second, so definitely not too bad. But this one, in my opinion, is the best spell in the game for general use. Then, as mentioned, I don't have one of the other spells. I've got my ass whooped quite a bit in PvP by other people that managed to defeat Onyxia right here and get the spell. So basically, unlocks the Deep Breath spell if you defeat this boss. Now, I'm under level for the moment, so hopefully in a month or so, I'm going to be able to take down the beast and put my hand on the Deep Breath spell. Now, as you may notice on the screen, guys, this as well will cost 4 gold to deploy. It's from the Blackrook family. Again, is AoE damage. And basically, strikes within Dragon's Breath in any direction, dealing elemental damage to enemies in the line of fire. Unfortunately, I don't know exactly what talents we have available for this spell just yet, but I can tell you it deals tons of damage, and my god, it literally just wipes enemies off the board. Very effective versus waves of enemies, guys. A super strong spell, effective for both PvP and PvE game modes. The next spell that I want to talk about, and I'm not necessarily ranking them from 1 to 5, guys, or anything like that, but just kind of like to give you an idea. So Polymorph is extremely powerful for PvP. Not as impactful in PvE, but it can be used in there as well, and you're still gonna gain tons of value, you know. So I don't really have this one leveled up too much at the moment, but basically you're going to transform the enemies into a sheep. Now, when we are talking about talents, there is a very good talent for PvP, which will allow you to gain gold. So one sheep becomes golden, killing it grants 1 gold, which is very nice. Or the ships will explode, killing a sheep damages the nearby enemies. Or you have the stable transfiguration. Lasts twice as long, but sheep regenerates health very quickly. You don't want that. You don't want them to regenerate health quickly. You want to kill them as fast as possible, you know? So very important. When we are talking about the traits and basically what exactly it can do, guys, AoE, so you can actually transform multiple enemies into a sheep. You have a 5 radius. The thing is, it lasts for 6 seconds and you have a level advantage, you know? So the lower the level, the less effective this spell is going to be. That's why I'm not extensively using it at the moment. You know, I decided to focus on the Blizzard spell instead, rather than on polymorph, since it's not as effective in PvE, but still is a very solid spell, I would say. Moving over to the next one, guys. Let me just quickly find it right here. I know a lot of people tend to like the Chain Lightning. When they launched the game, this used to be a pretty nasty spell because you were just being able to spam the bases on the enemies. I do think that it can be nice, the Chain Lightning, but it's not as powerful. It can kill the chickens, it can kill waves of some squishy enemies, but that's about it. So this is not making my my top 5. But Execute, on the other side, is definitely going to make my top 5. This is a very solid spell, which will basically drop 50% of the HP on the enemy. Very strong spell. If used at the right time, you can gain a massive advantage. It is AoE as well. So in terms of talents, you have the Bloodthirsty, Bloodlust allies within spell area for 10 seconds. Can be very nice to help you to take down the enemies that just got their HP decreased. Killing Spree, if an enemy is killed, the next Horde mini costs 1 less gold. Not very interesting. Then you have Overpower, knocks enemies away from the cast location. Again, is not a very good one unless your minis are super low and they're about to die, and you want to preserve them for whatever reason. Then yes. But if no, Bloodthirsty is definitely the best talent you can actually pick for this spell. So savagely slices through enemies, chopping off half of their maximum health in one swipe. So that's pretty nice. AoE, very good. You have a 5 radius. Again, you do have a level advantage. So if you're on the level, you have a 5% penalty. I do need to work on leveling up this spell 100% because it's actually a pretty solid one, and it's 50% of the damage. You know exactly what you're getting on any form of enemies, guys, okay? Not gonna do it on bosses or bases or stuff like that, but it's gonna be very effective versus super tanky minis, both in PvP and in PvE content. So definitely a pretty solid spell. Then the next one that we have on the list, I find this to be very effective, mainly in PvE. It can work in PvP as well if you're using it at the right time, and that is Cheat That. This will cost you 3 gold as well, and it's Cheat That. I forgot to mention the cost for the Execute, which is 3 gold as well, but probably you guys can notice that as well. So Cheat That, guys, will basically keep your minions alive for a small duration of time. And that is massive if you're using it at the right time, on the right minis, to help you take down enemies. And I do find this spell pretty effective. So let me just quickly walk you through the talents. Seal Fate, affected minis gain Bloodlust, but die when the effect ends. Interesting, but you don't really want to lose your minis unless you're basically facing a boss and they're going to die anyway, you know? If you know that they're they have a Seal Fate, as the name says it, then you know for a fact that, okay, I can use this game Bloodlust and deal some additional damage. Or Vampirism, affected minis are healed when dealing damage. That is a solid talent for this one. Then you have Apocalypse, affected skeletons resurrect at your base when they die. This is only if you're using it, of course, with skeletons in your troop, in your deck, sorry. And honestly, I feel like the best option is Vampirism or Seal Fate for this particular spell, you know. And this is an undead. You will tend to have skeletons. I'm not sure if because I've never actually tested it, if it works for mages as well. Skeleton mages. I guess it should work with mages too. Imbue your minions with 1 less breath of death, preventing them from dying for a precious few seconds. So that's very nice. AoE damage. So let's just assume you have a boss dealing AoE damage. You have your harpies going in, you have your skeletons going in, and you want to keep them alive because you're so freaking close to take that boss down. You can quickly use Cheat That. You're going to keep them alive for a little bit, and the duration will be for 5 seconds. Of course, you will have a level advantage, so it adds 0.5 seconds, or it removes 0.5 seconds out of the 5 seconds. Yeah, you gotta make sure you have a decent level on the spell. If no, you're gonna keep your minions alive for like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. It really depends, but usually it's not really gonna be a massive difference in your level. You're not gonna go in with a level 12 troop versus a level 20 or stuff like that, because it's just not gonna end up good for you guys, you know. It has a 5 radius as well, so it's definitely a pretty solid spell. Now, there are different characters in the game, guys, that they benefit a lot from having spells in their decks. So as an example, let me just go straight to the undead one. So you have this particular leader, right, which will actually benefit a lot if you have a lot of spells in the deck, you know. So Blood Mage Talnos. Talnos gains 1 level for each spell you play until death. And this is just an example, because there are quite a few different minis that they will benefit from spells, you know. But these are the top 5 best spells in Warcraft Rumble, in my opinion, guys. Let me know in the comments down below if you have a different opinion. Which one of them is your most favorite one? Appreciate all of you guys watching. Thanks to Blizzard for sponsoring this video, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.